Hey everyone, here with our first video with Sean. We're going to be going into Sean's background, how he got started with Nightfood, but also what he was doing before Nightfood. We're also happy to announce that we'll be doing videos on a weekly basis where we'll be going into constant updates about the company, the industry, and getting Sean's opinions on exciting events in the current world. Sean, how are you?
Great, Jason. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic. Summer's finally around the corner. Well, let's hop into it. So really, I guess, how did you get started? Tell me, start from your education and let's hear, some of the things you were doing before Nightfood.
I'm going to be 51 in a couple of days, so college was a long time ago for me. I don't know the average age of who's going to be watching this, but, I would probably pick up a little bit later as I was getting through my 20s, and I was still eating the way I would eat when I was in college, and I was starting to gain weight, and I had started to experiment with different diets and things. And actually, it was really interesting because I discovered something called the Atkins diet, which was low carb. I don't even know if people know what that is anymore. Atkins, everybody knows low carb, and now, of course, everybody knows keto. And I had my own internet marketing company. And I actually reached out to Dr. Atkins back in, I think, 1997, because I liked the low carb lifestyle. I liked components of it, but what I didn't like was that it was really hard to find variety. It was really hard to find foods on the go. It was really hard to find quick stuff. You had to cook a lot of meat. And I wanted to launch for him and with him a low carb line of products, because there really wasn't anything out there. And this was 1997. And I actually contacted a friend of mine who was just launching his own food business. And I was trying to convince him that low carb was going to be this huge, awesome opportunity. It was a great diet, and I just felt the trend coming. He didn't want to do it. He wanted to focus on his own thing, and I went back to my internet business, and sure enough, 4 or 5 years later, low carb was a multi-billion-dollar snack category, and I was kicking myself and beating myself up over it. But at the same time, I had read this book called Body for Life, and it wasn't low carb, but it was, everybody now talks about intermittent fasting, but Body for Life, which is a very popular book, again, back in the late 90s, was about eating many small meals throughout the day so that you would never end up hungry. You needed to always feed your metabolism or else it would go into starvation mode. That was the theme of the book. So I went from having a pattern where I would eat 2 huge meals a day. I mean, I was working for myself. I had my own internet business. You can imagine. I was in my late 20s. So I would wake up, 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock. I would work for an hour or so. I would try to get to Taco Bell at 11:59 so I wouldn't have to wait online. And I would just have a huge meal. I would get home. I would work all afternoon. 7 o'clock, I would go to the corner deli. I would get a big 12-inch, sub loaded with meat and cheese and everything. And I would eat that, and I'd work into the night, and I'd sleep like a baby. So that was my life. And then when I switched over to Body for Life and I was eating healthier, what happens is I was eating smaller meals, right? I was eating more frequently throughout the day. And as part of the program, you were supposed to have 3 small meals a day and 3 snacks. And the snacks were this brand called Myoplex. And it was a line of nutrition bars and shakes. And they were basically energy bars. And so that's what I was having as my nighttime snack. And I noticed I wasn't able to fall asleep anymore. And I developed insomnia, and I would stay up. And of course, I was a bachelor, and the only thing I had in my house was these Myoplex bars. So I would have a bar. I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. I'd be hungry. I would have more bars. And there were nights when I would be having bars, at 8 p.m., 10:30, again at 1:30 in the morning. And I was like, why am I not sleeping well? And I got the idea for, that there's got to be something better for your nighttime snacking if you're going to snack at night. Because as I started to eat healthier, that's what I started to notice, was that what I was eating was impacting my sleep. It was these kind of 2 different events that came together that kind of gave me the idea for Nightfood. But I sat on the idea for years because I was a total industry outsider.
So before we hop into Nightfood stuff, what I think, like you've mentioned, you own an internet company in the late 90s. What was that like? How did you even get into that? Give us some information about, what this internet company was.
Sure. So what we did is search engine optimization, and I had a business partner who was a friend, and he contacted me one day, and he said, go to Yahoo. And I went to Yahoo, and he said, type in Pokemon trading cards. And I was like, I don't know what that is. He said, just put it in. I typed it in, and he said, what's number one? I said, and I read the name of the site, and I said, what am I looking at? He goes, that's my site. I said, so what? He says, I can get anything to the top of Yahoo. I said, okay, that's interesting. He said, would you like to work with me? And, because I had a lot more business experience, he said, I'd like to go out and I think we can sell this to businesses as an opportunity to provide service to these companies out there. Everybody wanted to be at the top of the search engines. And my concept was different. I said, look, you're never going to be able to extract proper value out of the services that you can provide, because if you charge them what it's worth, then they're taking on the risk of you being able to perform or not perform. And if you charge them what they're willing to pay, you're never going to be able to capture the value that you're able to deliver with the upside if you actually succeed for them. So what I convinced him to do was for us to partner with e-commerce companies on a percentage basis, on an affiliate basis. The name of the company was called Affiliate Pros. And we partnered with companies in the pharmaceutical space, in the health space, the wellness space. We partnered with helicopter brokers, commercial real estate broker. We were using the internet to sell gas stations and golf courses, marinas, hotels, helicopters, airplanes, plus, Viagra and, weight loss products and dental insurance. We must have had, at one point, a few hundred websites, going, and some of them would just make, $50 or $100 or $1,000 a month. And, on the other hand, we were number 7 on Yahoo for the term Viagra for a very long time. And this was kind of not really pre-Google, but before Google took over. So that's what we were doing. And, but I didn't want my whole life, every time the algorithms changed, it would throw things into upheaval. And I knew I always wanted to move into having a real company with real products and not relying on the search engines for my income and for my livelihood.
Yeah, well, interesting. So let's take a little step back. So, you're right. Yahoo was the bigger player until the early 2000s. A lot of people don't realize that. That's incredible. So really, digital marketing before anyone even knew what digital marketing was. So that's amazing. And then because you run a company, you're working a lot, you're staying up late, especially dealing with internet stuff, where, it reminds me of myself. You're eating, relatively speaking, terribly. Your choices are limited, and you weren't able to sleep. So you then, in your head, you always loved food. You always, had, what sounds like an idea of, kind of what was going to be the next hot topic in nutrition. Yeah. And now, because of your struggles when you're running your internet company, it led you to get into Nightfood and kind of create your own. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah, I always felt that if I was able to find a snack, at the time that I conceptualized this, there were, pre-workout bars and post-workout bars. There were golf bars for golfers. There was one called First Tee and one called 10th Tee. And I guess they were different depending on where you were in your round. There was bars for ballerinas called Bar. There were bars for so many different things, but there was never anything that said, hey, here's what you're supposed to eat if you're going to snack at night.
Yeah. Well, even I played a very high level hockey, and I'm sure there's a ton of athletes out there as well. And honestly, even if you go to the gym, a lot of those foods suck. I like eating a protein bar every single day. It gets to the point where you're like, great, here we go again.